The story begins with a prison bus carrying new inmates to a prison island. When they arrive, a guard stops the bus to check everything's okay. Once they get the green light, the gates open up, letting the bus roll into the prison. After passing through a second gate, the prisoners lose sight of sunlight and the green trees outside. Finally, they reach their destination, and the prisoners step off the bus and get their handcuffs removed. After all the inmates get off, the guard tells them to introduce themselves one by one. The first two happen to be convicted of crimes relating to stealing and fraud. Then our main character, Ricky, a 21-year-old, is serving 10 years for involuntary manslaughter and assault. Without waiting for permission, Ricky steps forward and unknowingly sets off the metal detector alarms. The guards figure he's armed and get ready to beat him up, but he stops them and proves he's got nothing hidden on him. The handheld detector still beeps though, so they put him through an X-ray machine. That's when they find 5 bullets lodged in his body. When the guards ask why he didn't let doctors remove the bullets, Ricky says he considers them memories. They ignore this pathetic response and move the new prisoners into their cells. After that, they're informed that the warden runs the prison, with the assistant warden as the second in command. The prison has 4 sections: East, West, North, and South, each with its own leader. Together, these 4 leaders make up what's called the Gang of 4. Normal prisoners never get to see the warden or his assistant on a personal note. Later in the bathrooms, inmates are doing their usual cleaning up when this heavyweight guy barges in. A mob boss named Samuel, who's close with the guards, arrives with his crew and immediately grabs a towel from an old man, and when he complains, they slam him against the wall. The other prisoners know Samuel's too dangerous to mess with, so they look away and mind their own business. Furthermore, Samuel's guys force the old man to kneel and apologize for nothing. While doing this, he accidentally drops a toy he'd made for his son, hoping to get out of prison soon. Samuel pretends to be happy about it, then smashes the toy against the old man's head, making it crystal clear. He'll never get parole without him saying so. Fed up with the constant abuse, the old man tries to fight back with a carpenter's tool, but Samuel catches it mid-air and uses it to slice up the old man's face. The screaming brings guards running, but Samuel claims the old man just fell and cut himself. The guard plays along and walks away, leaving the injured man. After that, Samuel and his crew start walking away victorious. But suddenly someone trips him, sending him face first into a board with nails sticking out. When his followers confront whoever did it, they find it was Ricky. But just one look from Ricky is enough to scare them off. Back in his cell, Samuel's crew tends to his wounds. While they massage him and try to feed him, he takes his anger out on them and swears he'll get revenge or lose his reputation. His henchmen suggest sending one of the prison's most feared inmates after Ricky, a fatty who loves to cause trouble and is currently in isolation. Samuel likes this idea and corners a guard in the bathroom to ask about releasing the fatty. The guard says it'll happen tomorrow, but Samuel bribes him to make it happen today. The guard warns that if things get too crazy, they won't take responsibility. Just then, the guard heads to the restricted area where he finds the fatty chained up in a tiny cell. But Samuel's revenge plan goes beyond the fatty. He plans with the guards to tell the old man that his parole application got rejected. When the old man opposes this decision, he roughs him up as punishment. This abuse pushes him over the edge, and that same night, he ends himself in his cell. Word spreads fast among the prisoners, and Ricky learns it's all Samuel's fault. He also finds out that the old man was originally convicted for accidentally hitting a police officer while rushing his wife to the hospital. This news fills Ricky with rage. In his cell, he starts mentally preparing for revenge against Samuel, thinking about how the old man could have been a good man. Later, Ricky breaks out of his cell and heads to the courtyard where he intercepts the old man's body being moved, still in handcuffs. Seeing his hands still handcuffed, Ricky realizes this makes no sense. When the staff ignores him, he breaks cuffs with his bare hands and respectfully places the reconstructed toy with the old man's body, giving him one final moment of dignity. Standing in the pouring rain, Ricky lets out all his pain in a fierce scream and starts throwing punches at the air like he's fighting an invisible enemy in a rage. The next day, the prisoners go through their morning routine, including shower time. Ricky's about to shower when Samuel shows up beside him. That's when the fatty appears and immediately launches a vicious attack, slamming Ricky into the walls. The fatty tells Ricky he was hired to crush his body. Ignoring him, Ricky stands up calmly, showing complete confidence in his strength. When the fatty charges again, Ricky punches straight through his chubby stomach, unleashing a spray of guts and blood all over the showers. Seeing this, Samuel jumps in with a large nail as a weapon, but Ricky catches it with his own hand, letting himself get pierced so he can break Samuel's fingers. After showing Samuel the nail barely hurt him, Ricky ignores the arriving guards and delivers the killing blow to Samuel, destroying his stomach with unstoppable force. Before guards can take Ricky away for punishment, Oscar, the North Wing leader, shows up and recognizes Ricky's talent. He makes it clear he'll be the one handling Ricky's discipline from now on, since the young man is in his territory. Alone in his cell, Ricky momentarily loses his cool when sharp pain hits his chest from the bullets in his body. But through meditation, he quickly gets control of the suffering. During this process, Ricky remembers his past as a student. One day at a cemetery, he met his uncle, who revealed he'd been watching Ricky since he was 7 years old, because he could sense the boy's superhuman strength. The uncle shows Ricky he's gotten much stronger by performing martial arts moves like a master. When Ricky tries to surprise him, his uncle easily blocks him, proving Ricky still has lots to learn. Impressed by this display, Ricky begs his uncle to teach him how to control his energy so he can protect the weak. His uncle agrees and starts training him right there in the cemetery. He explains that Ricky needs to learn to turn his energy into a shield against any attack. To demonstrate, his uncle breaks a tombstone with just his palm as solid proof of the technique Ricky must master. Soon, Ricky shows his natural talent by breaking tombstones one after another, sometimes without even trying hard. Back to the present. The next day, guards bring Ricky to the assistant warden's office. He happens to be a fatty with a hook for a left hand. While enjoying his feast, the assistant gets a report on Ricky. It says he grew up in an orphanage and studied flute at a music school, but never graduated. It also mentions he disappeared for 2 years before getting arrested, and security forces consider him extremely dangerous. Hearing this, the assistant puts down his food, puts on his glasses, and stares at Ricky while asking what happened during those 2 missing years. Ricky stays silent as he continues to be questioned, even about the bullets in his chest. But he provides no answer. Getting frustrated, the assistant warden reveals he just got a letter with a photo meant for Ricky. When Ricky approaches, the assistant surprises him by stabbing the hook into his hand and hitting him. He says he wants to test how tough the man who eliminated Samuel really is. Ricky doesn't show any weakness. Instead, he just stares back without blinking. When the assistant accuses him of maybe being a spy, Ricky responds with a warning, spitting blood on the assistant warden, who gets offended and threatens to bring the woman from the photo to the prison to take advantage and destroy her. These words trigger vivid memories of this woman in Ricky's mind, giving him the strength to break the table with just his body strength and freeing himself from the hook in his hand. The furious assistant warden shoots at him, but Ricky deflects the bullet with a tray. Cornered, the assistant warns that with the warden away, he's in charge. If Ricky hits him, he's dead. Facing this threat, Ricky stops just short of throwing his first punch and walks away with the woman's photo, warning the assistant to stay out of his life. That night in his cell, Ricky looks at the photo while playing his flute. The music brings back memories of his life with the woman named Keiko, filled with happy moments. But guards interrupt this moment, reminding him that music is strictly banned. The next day, other inmates corner one of Samuel's henchmen who's been acting like nothing happened. They know this guy betrayed their old boss. The traitor begs for mercy, and the prisoners agree, but only if he gets on his knees, licks their shoes, and eats excrement. However, one prisoner named Andrew decides this punishment isn't harsh enough. He believes the traitor should be sliced up. That's when Oscar arrives and warns Andrew they can't harm anyone while the warden's away. Only Oscar has authority to punish people in the North Wing, so the traitor gets to live for now. But before Oscar leaves, Andrew challenges his authority, calling him too soft on traitors. Oscar responds by slamming a hacksaw in Andrew's face for disrespecting him. The assistant warden shows up to congratulate Oscar for this and takes the injured Andrew for some personal punishment. Later, the assistant warden meets privately with Oscar to reveal his plan to use Andrew as bait against Ricky. He also warns Oscar to be tougher with prisoners, since he fears they'll start acting like Ricky. To help with his plans, he gives Oscar a knife and orders him to make Ricky's last moments a big show for the whole prison. Leaving there, Oscar meets Ricky in the courtyard and shows him Andrew tied to a large wooden cross. He acknowledges Ricky's toughness and power, but says he has to end him to protect the Gang of Four's honor. Facing this threat, Ricky takes off his shirt and starts the fight, but instead of attacking, he just dodges punches. Seeing Oscar's confusion, Ricky explains his only goal is justice, and he'll only fight after Andrew gets freed. Oscar refuses this condition and keeps attacking. With one blow, Oscar slams Ricky into the fence. Other prisoners watching warn Ricky that when Oscar shows his tattoos, he's obligated to end someone. If Ricky doesn't fight, Andrew would lose his life. Left with no choice, Ricky gets into battle mode and lands his first hits, forcing Oscar to pull out his knife. Ricky gets surprised when Oscar throws glass powder in his eyes, temporarily blinding him. Despite not being able to see clearly, Ricky starts swinging punches in all directions. Taking advantage of the confusion, Oscar manages to cut Ricky's arm for the first time. From the ground, it looks like Ricky's about to lose his life. But right then, he spots a nearby water source and uses it to wash the glass powder from his eyes. Oscar sees his opponent can see again, but knows his right arm is injured, so he attacks confidently. But Ricky surprises him with a quick move and uses a strike to damage one of Oscar's eyes. This commotion gets the assistant warden's attention, and he watches along with other prisoners. Using his teeth, Ricky reconnects the tendons in his cut muscles until he gets full mobility back. Seeing this, Oscar again recognizes Ricky's strength, but in a last desperate move, he cuts open his own belly. Ricky approaches, asking him not to take his own life, but it's all a trap. Oscar tries to strangle Ricky with his own intestines, but Ricky avoids this attack, and in his final charge, realizes he has to end this once and for all. He throws Oscar in the air and destroys his skull with a direct hit. As the winner, Ricky uses all his strength to carefully pull the heavy cross out of the ground. Right when the assistant's about to leave, the prisoners realize he orchestrated everything. Furious, they're ready to end him in revenge, since they no longer fear the Gang of Four with Ricky protecting them. But suddenly, the three remaining gang leaders appear. Taizan, the East leader, shows up, crushing a head in his hands. Brandon from the South carries deadly needles, and Rogan emerges from the West Wing pipes. The assistant warden challenges Ricky to fight all three at once, but Ricky ignores him and focuses on freeing Andrew's body from the cross. As he walks away, the assistant warden offers him Oscar's spot in the gang, but Ricky ignores him again. Later, Alan, Oscar's mute lackey, tries copying how Ricky plays a leaf like a flute, but can't get it right. Ricky shows up and patiently teaches him the proper technique, telling him he needs to use his tongue. Just then, Alan shows that someone cut out his tongue in the past, which is why he can't speak. Before leaving, Ricky decides to give Alan his flute since he won't need a tongue to make music with it. Alan gets incredibly happy receiving this gift, not realizing Rogan is watching. As thanks, Alan gives Ricky poppy leaves he had, revealing he got them from the West Wing. Later that night, the Gang of Four meets, and Rogan tells the others what happened, claiming Alan betrayed them. To prove it, he calls Alan over and orders him to take revenge for Oscar's death. But Alan refuses, so Taizan shows him Oscar's recently skinned body. Even seeing this, Alan just cries. Angry at this lack of reaction, Rogan decides to punish him by ruthlessly cutting half his face off, then throwing his skinless remains into the courtyard. When Ricky arrives and recognizes his friend by the flute among the remains, he screams in pain and rage. He breaks the instrument as a sign of revenge. Shortly after, when the assistant warden learns from Rogan that Ricky knows about the poppies, He soon realizes his precious plantation is going up in flames. So, he rushes there to find Ricky in the middle of the fire. He makes it clear he burned everything for Alan. Angered, the two begin a fierce battle with Rogan throwing the first punch, showing Ricky his unorthodox kung fu style. After doing several weird poses, Rogan flies at Ricky and crashes him into the walls. Seeing this, all the prisoners break out of their cells to watch the fight. Meanwhile, guards tell the assistant warden that firefighters are asking questions about the fire. But he ignores them until another guard says the warden returns tomorrow. Hearing this news, the assistant warden orders that all prisoners be sent back to their cells. Back in the fight, Ricky lies still from pain while Rogan keeps talking. He remembers his uncle's words about how he must try harder since he has potential to be stronger than everyone. Ricky motivates himself and gets back up to continue fighting. But then, Brandon appears and both he and Rogan keep attacking Ricky. Taking advantage of his helplessness, they manage to stick one of Brandon's needles in his arm, letting them overpower and paralyze him. Soon, Taizan shows up claiming Ricky as his opponent, but right then, speakers announce that all prisoners should return to their rooms, meaning anyone not in their cell will be gunned down. Rogan suggests ending Ricky right now, but Taizan refuses. As shooting starts, Taizan uses the opportunity to take Ricky to his cell where they plan to keep fighting. But then, the door shuts and a window starts pouring cement, aiming to bury them both alive. Realizing how serious this is, Ricky channels his anger and with huge effort punches through the steel door, managing to escape to the hallway. The cement knocks Taizan unconscious, so Ricky carries him on his back. While climbing the stairs, the assistant warden appears and the two are knocked down. He orders his men to save Taizan but decides to take advantage of Ricky's situation to punish him for destroying the poppy farm. Later on, the assistant warden and guards gather to welcome the warden, who arrives with his son, a fat kid who seems to enjoy humiliating others. When the clumsy kid trips and starts crying, the warden demands punishment for whoever laid out the carpet. Without hesitation, the guards blame an innocent prisoner, and the warden punishes him by piercing his eye, claiming it was just an oversight. In his office, after getting the assistant's report, the warden scolds him for letting prisoners lose their lives, reminding him that since privatization, prisoners are cheap labor and must be kept alive, whether from sickness or starvation. The assistant then reveals the poppy fire happened, which gives the warden a heart attack and forces him to take dozens of medications to control himself. The warden then visits Ricky, who's lying paralyzed due to the cement and chained in a big empty cell. But on seeing the warden, he immediately breaks free and grabs him by the neck. Right then, the walls crack and Taizan emerges, knocking Ricky down by slamming him against the bars. Following the warden's orders, Taizan can't end him yet, so he pins Ricky with the bars and beats him continuously since Ricky can't defend himself. When Taizan tries to crush Ricky's head, he finds enough strength to break free and immediately destroys the giant's arm and jaw with his fists. Taizan tries one last attack, but Ricky punches through his remaining arm, defeating him. While Ricky demands they stop and reminds them everyone there is human, the warden activates the cell's hydraulic ceiling to crush him. But Ricky shows his incredible strength again by resisting the pressure. The warden responds by using an electric stunner to shock Ricky. He falls, and it looks like he'll be crushed, but unexpectedly the ceiling starts rising. That's when we find out Taizan's still alive. He asks the warden for one last chance to leave, but the warden rejects him as useless. Despite this, thanks to holding up the ceiling, Ricky manages to escape. But when trying to help Taizan, he discovers the man has no strength left and gives in to the ceiling pressure, leaving only a family photo behind. While Ricky criticizes their lack of humanity, the warden surprises him by making him fall into a pit. The next day, with Ricky in the courtyard center completely immobilized, the warden gathers all prisoners and orders them to cover him up with sand as payback for his rebellion. The prisoners refuse to hurt their friend, so the warden eliminates 2 of them as a warning. With no options and Ricky's permission, the inmates start burying him alive while begging forgiveness. Even the assistant warden and the warden's chubby son join in. but they do it with satisfaction. The warden announces that if Ricky survives 7 days, he'll be free. They place bamboo over the sand as a kind of breathing tube. That night, while prisoners talk about how they'll inevitably be responsible for Ricky's end, they suddenly hear Ricky's music. We realize he's still alive, playing a leaf like an instrument. Learning this, Rogan comes out of the pipes and decides to block the oxygen tube. This makes Ricky start remembering the night Keiko left school and witnessed some bad guys taking drugs. She had tried to ignore them and leave quietly when they discovered her and took her to the dealer's hideout. When she woke up and understood the horrors awaiting her, Keiko decided to run to the roof and unknowingly threw herself off, ending her life instantly. Later on, Ricky arrived at the hospital and recognized her body. Learning what happened, he decided to confront the dealer for revenge and ended up getting shot 5 times. Even after getting shot, he showed no fear. He kept advancing and kicked the dealer's leg, breaking it, then did the same to his skull. Back at prison, after 7 days pass, the warden goes to the pit and digs it up with a tractor. Surprisingly, they see Ricky's still alive, and he breaks free from his chains easily. Faced with this situation, Rogan returns and knocks down Ricky before attacking him head-on. In his condition, Ricky falls unconscious. In this state, they capture him again and lock him in a new cell with sharp bars that prevent any movement. When Ricky wakes up, the warden recognizes his incredible strength and asks that they be friends. But Ricky flat out rejects him, calling him a murderer. Angrily, Brandon starts beating him non-stop while the warden demands to know what he's looking for and what he did during his 2 missing years. Despite the brutal beating, Ricky refuses to talk, so Rogan joins the torture. He hits Ricky's pelvis, fills his mouth with razor blades, seals it shut, then keeps beating him so the blades start bulging out his cheeks. After this beating, the warden gives him another chance to speak, but Ricky takes the moment to spit out the blades, which embed in the warden's face. He makes it clear he'll only reveal his secret when he's dead. Later, one prisoner manages to sneak into the dungeon and brings Ricky food, promising to return tomorrow. But without knowing it, one of the gang's spies sees him. That same day, the assistant warden captures this prisoner and brings him to Ricky's cell as a gift. But Ricky hides in the ceiling, making them think he escaped. When the assistant warden and the snitch open the door, Ricky takes the chance to split the traitor's head. Though he has the assistant cornered, Ricky sets him aside to say goodbye to the prisoner who helped him. The assistant doesn't get far as other prisoners intercept him on the stairs and take their own revenge, piercing his throat and cutting off his good arm. This brings guards trying to suppress the prisoners, but Ricky steps in by punching through one guard's body as a warning. With the path clear, Ricky forces the assistant warden to lead him to the warden. Meanwhile, the warden's in the kitchen ordering food rations cut for prisoners. When he hears one complain, he decides to process the man's arm for more meat. Right then, Ricky bursts through the walls with the assistant's body. Realizing it's a riot, the warden decides to end the assistant warden by shooting him with a bullet that makes his body inflate until it explodes. But before the warden can shoot Ricky, Rogan and Brandon arrive, ready for the final battle. Together, they manage to corner Ricky against the kitchen stove and wound his leg. But Ricky gets up fast and dodges Rogan's deadly kick, making it hit a tank of boiling water instead, which burns Rogan's foot. He uses this chance to give him a whooping, causing the coward to beg for his life. Witnessing this, Brandon decides to run, and the warden shoots him without hesitation. With his enemies eliminated, the warden drops his weapons and orders his son to hide. Finally facing Ricky, he reveals that as the place's leader, he must be the strongest of all. So, he starts attacking by throwing a table at Ricky, who dodges skillfully and quickly slams it against the wall. The impact makes the warden show his true giant form. Unfazed, Ricky prepares for the next attack, but this time, the warden's foot is too tough. Despite his opponent's hardness, Ricky focuses all his strength and with a fierce attack manages to punch through the giant's belly. But instead of falling, the warden starts to squeeze Ricky's neck and keeps beating him. Despite the situation, Ricky remembers his uncle's wise advice, which gives him courage to keep fighting. He attacks again, this time destroying the warden's knee, letting him throw the warden toward the meat grinder. In a last attempt to survive, the warden tries dragging Ricky with him. But Ricky manages to completely pin him down and feeds him into the processor until only his head remains. With the warden's head as a trophy, Ricky ends the fight between prisoners and guards, then uses all his strength to destroy the prison wall, creating an opening to freedom. If you like this recap, do let me know in the comments, and obviously leave your likes too. Do not forget to share with your friends and subscribe. Above all, activate your notification bell so you don't miss the next recap when it drops. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.